dealing with the consolidation in the casino industry that happened and that needed to happen because of the competition from all around the country. And so, I feel like it's going to be huge for Atlantic City. For our horse tracks, it's going to be very important too, because as we know, horse racing has been an industry that's faced challenges, and because it's faced those challenges, they need another way to get people into the tracks that will expose them to horse racing and remind them how much they like it, but also to get them in there to bet on sports. So everybody's going to win in this regard, and I'm glad, and I really hope that Governor Murphy and the legislature will allow Monmouth Park to go forward as quickly as possible. Don't wait for additional legislation. There's no need to wait for additional legislation. And by the way, I want to correct one thing that you said before. We don't have to count on trusting Monmouth Park. The DGE, the Division of Gaming Enforcement, has the authority to oversee what goes on there based on the legislation that's in place right now. Some specifics of it they're going to have to work on, but they're not going to allow it to be the Wild Wild West.
So the oversight is already there in place.
Yes, and you have a professional gaming operation, William Hill from Great Britain, that runs a huge gaming operation in Great Britain and in Europe, who are going to be Monmouth Park's partners, who know how to do this. And so we were preparing for this, Harry. We were always preparing to win and to want to get New Jersey out of the box first, because I think it's really important. People develop brand loyalty, and if they get used to and they like going to our casinos and betting on sports, using a potential online product to bet on sports, that's a New Jersey product, then that's going to be even better for us. And so I hope they let it go forward as quickly as possible, and I think they will. We haven't fought this long to then, stand on niceties and take a back seat.
No reason to wait.
Nope.
When you win, you get to play, and then once one starts, then I think it inspires confidence. Hey, this is up. It's running. Let's go. And I think everybody that's legal and able to participate will want to do so as quickly as possible. And I'm sure casinos have been preparing. I know resorts and others have been preparing for the space that they will use. So this is a great day. It is a great victory. Would you consider it one of the greatest victories of your administration?
Yeah, I would, because of how long it took and how much people doubted us. And listen, Harry, in the end, that's what leadership is all about. Leadership is not about when it's easy; it's about when it's hard. And you get criticized as a governmental leader if you do things that are bold. The thing that I'm proudest of our administration about was that we swung for the fences every day. We tried to get big things done for New Jersey. We didn't play small ball. And when you do that, there's some people you're going to upset. There's some people that you're going to anger, and it's going to create controversy. But why do this job if you're going to do it for small reasons? And I never ever felt like that was my role or my task, or why people elected me twice in this state. And so this was a big risk. It was a big gamble, so to speak, but I really felt it was going to be worth it, and I felt like we stood on solid legal ground. And, I'm sure it makes my dad, who just recently turned 85, really proud of the fact that he helped to pay for that law education, because his son turned out to be a good lawyer on this one, too, and in addition to being a good governor. So I'm really proud of it. It is one of our biggest accomplishments, and it's something that I think everybody in New Jersey should remember. The right decisions are always not the ones that are the most popular at the moment. And you got to look for leaders who are willing to take that risk and not always just put their finger in the air to see which way the political wind is blowing.
Governor, before you run, how has the transition been after 8 years as governor? Obviously, and we know you're doing a great job as a national ABC News political commentator. How has the transition been for you?
Well, I can tell you, Harry, that my popularity is soaring at home. My approval ratings at home are through the roof. Mary Pat is enjoying having me not feeling the pressure of the governorship each and every day, and the obligations that come along with that in terms of the time that it took away from her and from our children. And so for, Andrew and Sarah and Patrick and Bridget, they're happy to have their dad available to them much more. The ABC stuff has been wonderful, and I love ABC, and they've given me a great opportunity to talk about, incredible issues that are going on every day on the national scene. And I'm doing a lot of other things. I'm serving on boards and, doing some paid public speaking and, helping folks in different issues, still involved in the opioid issue as well. And so there's a lot to fill my time, and my family's happy to have me around, and I'm enjoying being a New Jersey citizen. And, so for me, the transition so far has gone really well. That's not to say I don't miss being governor. I loved being governor for 8 years, and there's certainly miss being in the middle of all the argument and discussion and resolution of big issues and big problems for New Jersey. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you, I don't miss it at all. Of course I miss it. For me, 7 years as U.S. attorney followed by 8 years as governor was an incredible opportunity, something no one in the state's ever done before in our history, to have 16 consecutive years of being either U.S. attorney, a candidate for governor, or the governor. Never happened in our 200-plus year history. And so I miss that, but the transition is going great. I'm enjoying my life as a private citizen, and I'm looking forward to, keeping an eye on what happens in the state. But I'm also keeping my word, as you know. I'm not somebody who's going to sit around and talk to local media and critique everything that's going on in the state that I agree with and that I don't agree with. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think it's helpful to the people of the state. I don't think it's helpful to our governor, who I hope succeeds, and to our legislature, where I have many friends. And so I'm going to try to continue to stay in the background on those things, at least for a while, and talk about the national issues that ABC has hired me to talk about, and continue to spend, I hope, a really good summer betting on sports in Atlantic City and spending some time at the shore.
I love it. I know you got to go in a second. I do want to say congratulations, though, because over 5 months ago, you said what kind of ex-governor, what kind of former governor you would be, that everything you just said, you've kept your word for 5 months. A lot of people say stuff if raises are given. Oh, my gosh, undoing all the good we did, pension stuff, all this. You're not doing any of that. I give you a lot of credit for that. I really do. In terms of one national item, I often say about you, if your ears are ever burning, that if my friend Governor Christie would have been a part of this administration, Attorney General, or whatever the case would have been, this whole Russia special counsel should not even have ever happened. Look at the disaster that this has been, Governor Christie. Do you believe that is nearing the end, or is this thing going to go on and on and on?
Harry, I don't think there's any way of knowing. One of the things that I used to say when I was U.S. attorney was one of the best parts of the job was only I knew what I knew, and that certainly applies to Bob Mueller. And only he knows what he knows about where this is headed and how long it's going to take to complete it. You know that I was sounding the warning bells as governor, that a special prosecutor is a very dangerous thing.
Yep.
Because they're untethered. They often have unlimited budgets. In the way this Justice Department has decided to manage Bob Mueller, there's very little restrictions on him. And so, always thought this was a dangerous thing to do. It's been done, though, and so now Bob Mueller needs to be, permitted to finish the job. And so, I don't know whether we're close to the end, Harry. I know we're closer to the end than we were in the beginning. I'm confident of that. But whether this is going to, finish out, because remember, he's not going to be able to do anything at all, come, September 1st. Because the Justice Department has a rule that Jim Comey broke blatantly, but that has been honored by everybody else other than Jim Comey in the Justice Department, which is within 60 days of a general election, you don't get yourself involved in any prosecutorial actions. And so, I think he's really got to, between now and the end of August, to get this done. If he doesn't, he's probably then going to take a public break for September and October until after the midterms, and then get back to work after that if he doesn't have it done. So I don't think we really know. And on your other point about me keeping my word on this, believe me, there have been moments it's not been easy. Not only some of the things that you mentioned, But, quite frankly, Harry, some of the loudmouths in your area of the state, who quite frankly just absolutely lie about what's going on in Atlantic City and what needs to be done for Atlantic City, what was promised by certain elected officials to me about what they'd be willing to do in Atlantic City if we were to take aggressive steps. These guys, and women down there who've been doing a lot of talking, they are self-interested politicians who, are strangers to the truth. So it's been very hard for me to sit by and watch some of those comments be made. But I'm going to continue to because, I had my chance for 8 years to do what I thought I needed to do. And they'll be judged up or down based upon the veracity of their statements and whether or not they're just always looking to sweep another dollar off the table for their own benefit. And those kind of folks, that's never who I was, and it's never who I will be. So we'll continue to follow that pattern. And if there comes a time where I think, it's an appropriate passage of time for me to start to comment on local issues, I'll make that determination. But that may never come. But if it does, I'll be sure to let everybody know. But I'm certainly not going to do it anytime soon.
Governor Christie, let me thank you for a variety of reasons. Number one, I really cherish our relationship. Your loyalty to me, I hope you felt my loyalty back to you all throughout these years that we've known each other. From the blue fleece to the orange sweater in Jerry Jones's owner's box, the morning after, you were always here on the air with us. And not only do I never take that for granted, sometimes I can't believe it, actually. And I just want to thank you for the access that you've given me. And obviously, it's been very good for me, for my career. And I want to let you know publicly, I privately have said this to you, but publicly, tell you how much it means to me.
Well, Harry, you're very welcome. And listen, you're the mayor of the morning. When you want to communicate with the people in South Jersey, the best place to go is the Harry Hurley Show. And you always gave me a forum to be able to say my piece. You asked the tough questions that needed to be asked, but you gave me the time to answer them and answer them completely and not play the gotcha game. So the reason you're so successful, the reason you have such a loyal following in the state and in the region is because you give people a fair opportunity to make their piece, say what they need to say, and you've always done that for me. And so our relationship has been based upon mutual respect over the course of the last 16 years that I've been fortunate enough to be able to come occasionally on this program when there have been important issues of law and order and public policy to talk about. And so thank you for that. Thank you for giving me that forum, and especially on a morning like this morning. It's great to talk about New Jersey winning and New Jersey being in the forefront in the country and leading. That's what I tried to do for 8 years, was to make not New Jersey just a place inside our own state where we knew what was going on, but my 8 years as governor, everybody knew New Jersey was a leader. Everybody knew who New Jersey's governor was and the things that we were doing here. And I think it brought a lot of pride to the state during that period of time. And so I'm really proud of our relationship and how it's contributed to the public dialogue. And you're a great New Jersey, and on top of being a really great radio host, you love this state and you care about it, and you're not like these people who have abandoned it over time. And so I appreciate you being a great part of the everyday life of the people of this state. The people who are in their cars driving to work right now, you know what they're saying? Shut up, Christy. We want to hear more Harry Hurley because we love him, and so do I.
I doubt that, but thank you for these words. They mean more to me than I could even say, and congratulations to you, Governor Chris Christie, because this case will always bear your name, Chris Christie versus NCAA, and you came out on top.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Great to talk to you. Please tell Mrs. Hurley that I send my best.
Thank you, Governor. Best to you and your family.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Till we meet again. Thank you, sir. 14 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut standing by. He's next.
104.1 FM and 1450 AM WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville, South Jersey's talk station.
Do you hate your CPAP? Do you keep your family up with your loud snoring? Dr. DeFelice can help you sleep better. He cured his own sleep apnea and snoring. Visit HamiltonBraces.com to schedule your free consultation and start sleeping better because you deserve it.
Business owners and managers, if you have employee benefits, then you should be contacting Hub International. With healthcare premiums approaching $13,000 per employee, businesses and employees cannot continue to absorb rate increases. Hub, the 7th largest broker in the world, has over 400 offices nationwide. They make the resources of an international powerhouse available locally to even the smallest employers. Hub's local VP is Vaughn Reel, who's been consulting clients for over 30 years. Vaughn is certified by the Wharton School of Business as an employee benefits expert. In addition to getting you the lowest rates possible, Vaughn's team makes available a full suite of administrative, employee communications, member advocacy, and wellness services, as well as advanced claims analytics and cutting-edge benefit cost control strategies. Contact Vaughn Reel, 609-432-7929, or by email, vaughn.reel@hubinternational.com. That's 609-432-7929, Hub International Employee Benefits.
Here's a secret organic grocery chains don't want you to know. It's called ThriveMarket.com, the largest online store in the country, selling exclusively non-GMO organic groceries, all at guaranteed savings of 25 to 50% off traditional retail prices. Instead of paying $16 for your favorite almond butter at the store, imagine only paying $11 on ThriveMarket.com. Instead of $25 for extra virgin olive oil, pay only $15 on ThriveMarket.com. ThriveMarket.com has all the organic brands you love and many you can't find in stores. Plus, non-toxic home goods, cleaning supplies, and all natural bath and beauty products. Orders are shipped within 2 days and delivered to your door. Get started on Thrive Market today and receive 25% off your first purchase. Go to ThriveMarket.com/talk. That's ThriveMarket.com/talk. Prices are already insanely low. Now they're giving an extra 25% off your first order. Go to ThriveMarket.com/talk.
Hi, it's Mark Levin. Join me at 6 this evening. Now back to the Mayor of the Morning, Harry Hurley, on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Thank you very much, great one. It is 17 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamud is here. He's going to stay until the end of the hour, so we don't miss any of Chuck this morning. And we had that incredible time with Governor Christie. I want to get Chuck's comment on what he thought of the interview, but let me first say that the following program is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck. They do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast, subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, let me make a quick comment that's unrelated to what you have a full program intended, but the last, 30 minutes, it was about 30 minutes, just short of 30 minutes. It is a case study in why you either love Harry Hurley in the morning or hate Harry Hurley in the morning, because those who like what I do, love what I do, they're like, wow, that's amazing because nobody else could get that interview. And then the people who are jealous that could never get that interview in all the days of their life don't like you because you got that interview. So that's a case study in my life.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning to you, Chuck. What did you think?
Exceptional interview. I mean, there's nothing better than having, our governor on the phone.
For an extended title of the case
for an extended period of time. That was obviously, very influential in getting in trying to get sports betting in the state of New Jersey. And I can remember, as I was listening on the way in and just waiting in the parking lot, that this was a dream that goes back from the time the gaming actually was approved in New Jersey and Atlantic City, and unfortunately there were a lot of things that got in the way, but the good news is that sort of moving forward, this is something that will be, I think, beneficial not only to the city but to the state as well. But here's what you got to think about. And you saw some action yesterday in various stocks, particularly gaming stocks. The ones that are domiciled, most of the revenue in Las Vegas and Macau, they moved in the wrong direction.
Because they were getting competition.
Stocks that were more based, here in the U.S., had a better time of it. But I think there's going to be a lot of work that has to happen to make sure this is successful. And all of us are creatures of habit.
Don't you think they've been thinking about this ever since 2012?
Yeah, but think about this. Gaming, sports gaming in the facilities is a great start. I think where there'll be substantial revenue is, in the internet approved New Jersey gaming. But the one thing to remember is, and I think that, that a lot of the offshore, which are illegal, sports gaming operations, particularly those that cater to the retail gaming person, I think they're going to take somewhat of a hit. But you just have to remember, people are creatures of habit, and is everybody going to be so quick to move from what they're doing now, albeit illegal, to something that is now a legal entity? Because the one thing that it's sort of out there is, Harry, what will be the tax ramifications? If you in fact bet on sports, which is legal in New Jersey, and you win. I mean, I think there's a lot that we have to get through in a relatively short period of time.
Well, let me push back on that.
Well, hold on, and hopefully it goes as expected. So this will be successful.
But if you win because your horse comes in, or you win because your fighter wins, or you win because Villanova wins the national championship, or the Yankees win a game one night, or a playoff game another night, or you win a hand of blackjack or baccarat or craps. It's all the same. It's a gaming.
I think that the one thing that the stark differential, and it is the fact that I think that the illegal offshore, as it referred to now, there's no tax that's paid.
Right.
Okay. So now you bring it in, and it's legal, which is great. But now, I mean, the bettor has to think about, do they continue playing illegally and avoid the potential tax, or do they play legally and pay up? And I think that's very legitimate.
It's totally legitimate, and here's my answer to that, and we'll see what you think of this answer. Number one, it opens up legalized betting to a whole universe of people that wouldn't bet illegally because they're either afraid to, or afraid they're going to get caught or get arrested, or just they don't do stuff like that. So it opens it to a new universe of people, and I totally agree with you. There will be people that will choose the black market to avoid taxes, and there will be people that will now choose the legal route because it's now available.
This is where I think it becomes very, very exciting. And you talk to Mark Giantonio and the other execs in AC, the big problem that they have been faced with is being able to get the younger generation, the millennials, out of the clubs into the gaming halls. And coming down and staying, and not just for a few hours, but for a couple days. I'm pretty convinced because if you look at that whole generation, it's a matter of interacting and how they interact, amongst themselves versus the way we interact and the way we're viewed. I'm thinking, Harry, that is going to be a huge win for Atlantic City because it's going to bring those people out of the club and out of other areas into AC to spend an enormous amount of time in Atlantic City. Imagine
you can have a special event now tailored around the NCAA Final Four weekend.
I mean, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than being in a Las Vegas sports book during Super Bowl day and during the NCAAs. So I think if you can take that energy and then you bring it into you not only have it in your sports book, but you are able to push it out through the rest of your facilities, I think it's going to be obviously very, very positive for Atlantic City.
If you were still a vice president of hotel operations or a president of a casino, because I think if you had stayed in the industry, I think you could have been easily a president of any of these properties. You were the best. What would you be saying to your team members right now? I know what I'd be doing. I'd be jazzed up as hell.
Oh, this would
I'd be firing everybody up.
Harry, you would get out of the funk that you're in, and I will tell you the one thing Governor Christie said, and I do agree that, and I know that you're a big proponent, obviously, of Atlantic City. There's a lot of really good things happening, right now. I mean, and witness this past weekend, just walking around, what's happening with Stockton. It's just nothing short of incredible. And then obviously the two facilities opening on the other side of town in the next several weeks. I think the Atlantic City, we still have a lot of work to do. I mean, you have an infrastructure that needs a lot of attention, a lot of repair, but I think that we're certainly tracking a lot differently now than we were, say, just 2-3 years ago.
Do you think the opening of the two new casinos keeps everything open and we've added to, or does one close?
That's a really interesting question, and I'm going to say I don't know, but I think we all do know.
Yeah.
In evidence is what has happened with some properties in town. But here's what I found to be very, very interesting. There was a personal experience just the other day. I had an opportunity to meet with a client very early in the morning. Fortunately, you were on vacation, so I wasn't missing out listening to you.
You had NPR in your one ear.
No, but what I was doing, I met our client in the at Harrah's, right by the front desk. There's a little area we can just walk through and pick up some food and sit down and have breakfast or whatever. And the signage, parked in the Self Park. Walk through. The signage is just a little confusing at times, and there was a security guard standing there. And I said, "Can you direct me to the front desk?" He goes, "Yes, absolutely. Good morning, sir. How are you today?" And I looked at him. I said, "I'm great. How are you?" He goes, "I'm having a good day. Actually, I'm having a great day. Let me walk you to where you need to be, get you sort of pointed in the right direction." And as I'm doing that, I'm walking, about 30 paces with this fellow, and I'm chatting for a few minutes, and I thanked him for his assistance, and I'm saying, okay, this was last Thursday. Today is Tuesday. Mm-hmm. A lot has happened from Thursday to Tuesday, but I still have cemented in my mind that very, very brief interaction
because somebody was helpful
with a security guard that could have just blew me off and said and pointed or just ignored me. But you talk about something that doesn't cost anything to do other than the training. So my hat's off, to Harrah's with that experience.
And this was in the garage area?
No, this was actually walking. I walked through the garage. I got into the casino, and do you go left or you go right? It's just a little confusing there. I think for those that have been through that, they understand exactly what I'm talking about, and the fact that interaction was there was tremendous. Now, that's one employee in one organization. The key is to be able to take that experience and be able to replicate that throughout all these facilities. Imagine for a minute when people walk away from Atlantic City, regardless win, lose, or draw, what sort of experiences they had. I was dumbfounded. I literally could not. It was one of those processes you say, is this repeatable, and how often can you repeat it within your organization? So that, Harry, was worth all the money in the world.
And you're still talking about it on Tuesday.
I am, and it's like anything else. If you have a great experience, you're going to repeat it multiple times. If you have a bad experience,
even more.
It gets exactly. It's like going to a restaurant, getting a bad meal. You're going to tell 10 people. So I was only in the facility for 45 minutes to an hour. I did we did our business, and I left and went to the office. And first thing, got to the office, told everybody on the team what happened, told my family, told my friends, and telling your listeners. So think about that brief interaction it was just that touch point. I said, wow, this is how we many years ago ran the facility that we were so very proud to work for.
Correct.
now they have to take that and be able to repeat it and get Atlantic City. Sports gaming is great. It's wonderful. I mean, it's something that we needed, but it's now taking that extra step and to be able to, create that atmosphere and be able to retain those relationships, because all these other locations, Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland, they're Massachusetts, Connecticut. They're a little behind, but they're not going to sit back and say,
Governor
okay.
Christie won the case for everybody.
Yeah.
27 states. Chuck, you raise a point that's it's incontrovertible. And I'll give you an example. I'm a big fan of Capriccio Restaurant at resorts. George is the manager. You come to George's restaurant, you get a handshake and a hug. All the staff knows you, all the things that you're talking about, Chuck, in terms of that personalized service. They know you, they know your face, they know your name, they take great care of you. These are all the things. Atlantic City, as you know, Chuck, we have a great reputation for incredible hotel rooms, incredible restaurants. And if we can get a reputation for delivering excellence in service, that I agree with you, and we're not two fossils that, when we did it, it's true. There was a loss in the delivery, the execution of excellence in customer service. I'm going to give them a little bit of budge room. Some of it was financial, that it didn't have as many employees, but still the ones that you do employ can be excellent. So it's not a total excuse for it. And I think that is an area where Atlantic City can improve.
Absolutely. And I think, Harry, now think about the job market. It kind of gets into one thing we're going to talk about. The job market is obviously very tight. And it's absolutely critical that you're able to, one, hire and to retain, because if not, because it's so easy it's not just so easy. It's a lot easier to get employed now than it was, say, 6 months, 18 months ago.
True.
And so you have to be able to one, train and retain. I think that is very, very critical in any business right now, not just casino gaming, hotel resorts, restaurants. Our world, your world. I heard Mike Rubel the other day, one of your promo ads, looking for
account execs.
No, for free summer interns.
Oh yes, that was great. Yeah.
And
we're going to pay you absolutely nothing.
Unfortunately, I didn't have his number on my cell phone because I was ready to call him up. Maybe I'll go find him on the way out of here and see if I can.
We got an internship for
you. If I can get that job.
We got one. Let's get the halftime break in. We're coming right back. Chuck Malama continues. He'll share the first quarter earnings, his summary on that. Kirk educated me on the fact that in March, the U6 was at 8.1%, April 7.4%. So obviously trending in the right direction. We'll get that's sort of what Chuck's talking about here, the labor market that's tightening. Inflation, what can we expect? The Fed and interest rates, trade tensions, is it still an issue? Market timing versus time spent in the market, cost of crude, which I think is a big issue right now, the midterm elections and the geopolitical aspects that they present during any type of election season, and top retirement states. I think it's safe to say that at the present time, one of them is not New Jersey. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Chuck Malamut, the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program. And you can reach Chuck and his team at 609-383-2010 for all of your financial planning needs.
Only one talk station in South Jersey has an app that's focused exclusively on what's happening in Atlantic and Cape May counties. WPG Talk Radio 104.1. Don't fish through some generic app along with thousands of other stations. The WPG Talk Radio app brings you the latest South Jersey news and weather information, breaking news push notifications just for our area, and more. Download the new WPG Talk Radio app today through WPGTalkRadio.com.
This is Harry Hurley for All Season Solar, our official and exclusive solar energy provider to the Hurley in the Morning program. They design and they install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. What I love about dealing with All Season Solar, they're your single point of contact. They do the system design, engineering, your building permits, installation, and the ultimate glorious utility connection day. They take care of everything under the sun so that you can sit back and reap the savings. Call Frank Neal today, 609-317-5491. That's Frank Neal, All Season Solar, 609-317-5491. There's never been a better time to go solar. The benefits are there. New Jersey leads the East Coast and second largest in the entire United States in terms of solar energy panel installation. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. All Season Solar. Tell them Hurley in the Morning sent you.
If you run a business in need of financing or a not-for-profit organization seeking capital to expand your services, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority can help. The NJEDA can assist you with access to capital, including tax-exempt bond financing, loans, loan guarantees, business and tax incentives, and networking opportunities with the investment community. Ask your business banker about NJEDA or visit njeda.com. This message is sponsored by the NJEDA, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Has your current sales job got you caught in a rut? Are you not making the money you know you're worth? It's time to tune in to a new career. WPG Talk Radio 104.1 is adding full-time advertising executives to sell our full range of products. We're more than a radio company. We're the online advertising experts in South Jersey. Don't miss out on one of the fastest growing careers. Call Mike Rubel, Market President, at 609-645-9797 to schedule your interview. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, it's Brian Kilmeade. Join me next at 10, then Sean Hannity at 3. Now back to Harry Hurley on WPG Talk Radio 104.1, South Jersey's talk station.
Hey, thanks very much. 36 minutes past the hour. Market update, Chuck. First quarter earnings, what's happening?
So, Harry, as we are nearing the end of the first quarter, Home Depot reported actually this morning. So we're pretty much at the end. 91%.
You don't focus on any one company, but how did they do?
No. They met, but there were some issues. Okay. The stock's off about 3%, but we're not even allowed to talk about an individual stock. But what the point I was trying to make is we're pretty much done. 91% of the companies that are part of the S&P 500 have reported for first quarter. Earnings per share growth is running at a almost 25% increase compared with the same quarter a year ago.
Wow.
And revenues are growing at over 8% year over year for Q1. So the earnings are there. They were expected for the most part. There were several instances where earnings were companies beat on the top and bottom line. There were a few shortfalls. You're going to find that amongst obviously around 500 different companies. But I think what's very, very interesting here is that we've gone in the first couple months. January you hit that high towards the end of the month. We just had a really bad February and March. An April that was pretty much a do-nothing month. It was actually down maybe less than 0.5%. And now in a matter of a couple weeks, we are back onto that risk-on appetite where the markets have done very, very well.
Well, it's an 8-day winning streak, too.
And I think the fact of the matter is, we oftentimes talk about, timing the market versus spending time in the market. And I'm going to go a little bit off course here for a second because I think I might have mentioned this is something we're going to talk about towards the end. And when I read this, I read it 3 times because the first time I read it, I was kind of distracted. The second time I read it, I said, this can't be true. And the third time I read it, I said, oh my God, this is incredible. So think about this for a second. Market timing versus spending time in the market. So over the last 10 years, the 5 best trading days, 5 days out of 10 years, represented a gain of 50.6% total return. 5 days out of 10 years.
That's insane.
More than the 50% gained by the other 2,513 trading days in that decade.
Which is empirical evidence of the Malamut principle, the Malamut doctrine of spending time in the market, not trying to time the market. Because if you had been around, if you were Kreskin and you could just play 5 days, well, that would be miraculous, wouldn't it? But if you played the whole time, you would have also enjoyed that.
Yeah, so imagine you step to the sidelines because of some news, whether it's real news or fake news or manufactured news or somewhere in between, and you're going to wait for that opportunity. And chances are, when you get those kinds of days, they oftentimes, positive days, they oftentimes follow several negative days, maybe a negative month, maybe a negative quarter. And it's interesting when you look at this psychology of investing, and the fact is that you really should be a buyer when your stomach is telling you it's time to be a seller. And that's a very, very difficult lesson to be able to, one, teach, and two, administer, and three, execute. Because
it goes against everything that your gut is telling you, and it's counterintuitive, but it's what you should do.
Absolutely, I think perfect case in point now is that if you look at what's happening in the market, I mean, last week, the market reacted to a number of political and economic developments. But for the most part, we were focusing on the positives, not so much on the negative. Oil, as you mentioned, made a 3.5-year high. President Trump announced his withdrawal from the Iranian nuclear accord, which basically pushed all those oil stocks, significantly higher. So we had that risk-on rally. Cyclicals outperformed. The S&P was up 2.5% for the week. Energy, financials, technology, Harry, industrials were the best. And as you would imagine, defensive stocks and income-oriented areas of the market lagged somewhat. But I think that sell in May and go away. If you did that May 1st, you'd be looking in the rearview mirror and say, "Oh my goodness, I just really made a bad decision with respect to my assets." Why are you going to sell? Because it's the month of May? Harry, that makes absolutely no sense.
Agreed.
So I think that we just got a little off course here, but I just wanted to kind of
that was going to be later, but that's on the list, so we got it in there now. How about inflation, Chuck?
So inflation is sort of the bad guy in the room, and we do expect inflation is going to rise, but only gradually. So when we look at April Consumer Price Index, it rose slightly to 2.5%. Year over year. Core inflation held steady at 2.1%. So we think higher levels of capital expenditure spending, along with improved productivity from the labor force, is going to help prevent inflation from rising faster than it was, than it's expected. So we think headline inflation 2.5% to 3% by the end of the year. Core inflation trending around 2.5%. So that's going to allow the markets. That's going to allow the expansion that we are participating in, I think, Harry, to continue. We don't think we're going to have runaway inflation at this point in time.
Good to hear. How about the illustrious Fed and interest rates?
Well, it's been a couple meetings, Harry, and you have not you not have voiced your opinion yet, which I was a little disappointed as to where you think Chairman Powell is at this point in time, because he has had 2 meetings.
I know.
So maybe I think you're going to wait for the third to voice your opinion. But so think about this: there's been 55 Fed meetings over the last 6.5 years. The American Central Bank made no move. Just think about from January 2009. Think about where the market was at the time in 2008 and 2009. To October 2015, 6.5 years, we made no changes to short-term interest rates. And as I was thinking about this and reading and saying, oh my goodness, well, what's my friend Harry going to say? Because I know it's not political. So after after the meeting last week where the Fed, it was a second one for Chairman Powell, the Fed did not make a move, no change, and that was expected. The Fed has now raised short-term rates by 0.25% in 5 of the last 12 meetings. So let's kind of put that in perspective. We went virtually 6.5 years, Harry, where we had no change with rates, and now in a relatively short period of time, I call it the economy. I think you call it political. Maybe it's somewhere in between. The fact of the matter is that we are now faced with higher interest rates, and it's been pretty much broadcasted out there that we're going to probably be the Fed is going to be increasing rates probably 2 or maybe even 3 times before we get to the end of the year. So it's like pulling on that rubber band, that elastic, and you pull and you pull and you pull until such point in time what happens to that elastic? It sort of frays, maybe breaks, and I think the Fed is walking that tightrope because it's it's imperative that the economy continues to do well. There's no doubt about that.
Without a doubt. Let's take our final break. One more power segment with Chuck Malamud. If you're just joining the program, Chuck is going to stay for an extra segment, it appears, based on the clock that we usually run with Chuck. But Governor Christie and I had just an incredible interview that extended into Chuck's program, and Chuck agreed, and he's a good brother like that, to start his program late and stay until the end of the hour so we don't miss any of Chuck. And we had all that value with Governor Christie, who was victorious in the case known as Chris Christie versus the NCAA. In other words, sports betting is now legal in the Garden State. What a great, I think risk-reward was just big time worth it here. $8 million spent, but look at what now has been achieved for now and probably forevermore. So it's a big day. Big day for Atlantic City, big day for the state. And by the way, nothing snarky at the mayor, but to the mayor, bone up on your product knowledge because we don't have to approve sports betting. There's a big quote. He hopes it gets approved. It is approved. It was approved in New Jersey. It was challenged, and we lost various lower-level court challenges, including the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which upheld that we couldn't do it. The Supreme Court reversed them. It's already legal. So catch up with product knowledge. It's important. You're the mayor.
Health Update brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff, New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Ah, spring. Beautiful flowers, green grass, and leaves on the trees. Everything comes alive again, including our allergies. Pollen, mold, and dust mites wreak havoc on more than 67 million Americans every year. If you're one of them, and I know I am, here's a few ways to cut down on the sneezing, coughing, and itchy eyes. First, leave the pollen outside. When we come home, we should kick off our shoes and change our clothes. A quick shower can help us rinse off any pollen on our skin and hair. Make sure to wear a mask and gloves when cleaning or vacuuming to limit dust exposure, and keep windows closed to keep pollen from entering the house. Change filters in your air conditioning units and vents. Over-the-counter allergy medicines can be very effective, but if you prefer not to use them, try a saline nasal rinse. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Richard A. Stoloff. StoloffInjuryLaw.com. Attention you expect, results you deserve.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
Paul D'Amato.
Harry Hurley.
Paul, I know our listeners want to know what's new with the D'Amato Law Firm.
Things are great, Harry. We are so privileged to represent our clients. whose lives have been turned upside down because they were involved in a serious accident. We meet on a regular basis. We copy our clients on all our correspondence so they always know what's going on with their case. We try to treat them like family. We have Alexa here, my daughter. I'm so happy that she's here. We have Steve Van Natten and Casey Gifford. We're a great legal team.
They're the D'Amato Law Firm for all of your personal injury legal needs. Turn to the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program for more than a quarter of a century. The D'Amato Law Firm in Egg Harbor Township, 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. Tell Paul, Alexa, Sandy, the entire team that Hurley in the Morning sent you.
This is John O'Hurley, and you're listening to O'Hurley in the Morning.
Hey, thanks very much. 49 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut is here, our official financial advisor for all of your financial planning needs. Call Chuck, the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010. Trade tensions, is that still an issue?
Well, Harry, if you just sort of roll back the clock just a couple months ago, I mean, it really kind of rocked the markets as to what was going to be happening with the potential tariffs. So we've had a fair amount of easing with respect to trade tensions, and that's acting more as a tailwind for the equity markets. The fact that trade issues have not escalated over the last several months is being viewed as a positive, by the market. U.S. and China, as you know, are going to continue to hold negotiations. Chinese officials are scheduled to be in Washington for additional talks. So this is going to take, obviously some time to sort of vet through. So in the preliminary indications, Harry, are that China looks like they're going to agree to import more of our goods, which would obviously be a plus, for the U.S. economy. So, did the bully tactics that our president employed, early on a couple months ago, did that isn't that going to in fact pay off, to get China to the negotiation table to basically say, okay, not that they're going to roll over under any way, shape, or form, but they're going to be in a position, or we're going to be in a position where, we'll be a lot stronger than we were, say, just, several years ago. So I think that the fact that the market's been on a winning streak of several days now, actually more like, I think you said it before, 7 out of 8.
8 in a row.
I mean, it looks like today might get off to a little bit of a rocky start, but and I think the fact that these trade tensions are easing somewhat, or positive, having somewhat of a positive influence, with respect to the market.
Very interesting. The midterm elections, and I know you stay away from politics, but you don't stay away from geopolitical realities. Midterm elections really matter, and especially the midterm election of a first-term president, typically very consequential. And since World War II, other than 2 times, a certain result typically happens. It's fairly predictable. But this is I think this is just a whole different era that we live in. Trump rules are just sort of suspends belief. But midterm elections, what are your thoughts? So
I think, Harry, and again, you have a much better pulse on it than I do, for sure. But it seems as if they take these polls. Not only do they take them weekly, they take them hourly. As far as where we are as far as a nation. But it looks as if over the last several weeks that the Republicans' prospects for the midterm elections appear to have improved somewhat.
Yep.
There are several key races in the fall, particularly West Virginia and Indiana, those Senate races that feature Democrat incumbents, and can they in fact be overthrown by Republicans? So it's likely that the Democrats are going to capture the House in the fall, but we think that the Senate's going to remain in Republican hands.
And even the House it's not as foregone a conclusion as it was several months ago. Even that
correct.
is a changing atmosphere.
And I think that, just the tone of the market, what we work with every day in working with our clients is the fact that it seems to be, obviously, more risk on now versus where we were just several months ago. And Harry, think about this for a second. What has happened here? So, the bull market started in March 9th, 2009. The S&P was at that awful 666. And it gets virtually no respect. We always refer to it as the Rodney Dangerfield, rally. Those that have been bullish and right are, have been mocked as, what they call perma bulls, while the perma bears, who have been repeatedly wrong throughout this process, are quoted on and on and on. But, we don't have enough fingers and toes to actually count the number of times a recession has been predicted. First, you had Brexit. Then you had the issues in Greece. You had the adjustable rate mortgage, crisis. You had student loans, the election of Donald Trump, tapering, rate hikes, the 3-year or the 10-year Treasury at 3%, which this morning actually pierced back through, is like at a 302. Two fiscal cliffs. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But what has happened, Harry, is that we have these endless list of things that have happened over just the last several years to create, this hysteria for you as an investor to step to the sidelines.
Chuck, you taught me something a long time ago, not 27 years ago, but even before that, in another life that I led, and that was about the yield curve. And here's a report that I purposefully brought in for your show that I read yesterday about the yield curve is flatter than it has ever been since before the financial crisis. So going back to 2007, my brother Malamut. So it says if it gets any worse, there's lots of talk of a possible recession. What I think is interesting about this report, just to show you, in my estimation, how far ahead you are of these analysts that it's their job to do. This is just something you do in addition to doing what you do so well. You said this a while ago.
We've talked about it, and the 2 and the 10 years. I mean, they're obviously very, very close. Now that the Fed continues to increase short rates, I think you're going to see, that curve continue to flatten out. So you're going to, now Harry, you can at least find value. Investors find value on the short end of the curve, which is very, very helpful, because what happened was, you had no place to put your cash. Yep. Now you have options to get some sort of a yield. You're not at 3 and 4% on short-term money, but certainly 1% plus is better than 1.5 is certainly better than we were just a year ago.
So the spread between the 2-year and the 10-year bond yields is hovering above what they call minor support at 43 basis points. That's the lowest level since 2007. Yield curve talk and worries over a curve inversion, and Chuck talks about that on his program, will be something that we'll be keeping an eye on. And Chuck, as we approach the June Fed Open Market Committee meeting, there almost appears to be like certainty that a 25 basis point increase is cooked in.
I think that's baked into the cake, so to speak. I mean, a lot of things have to happen the other way, the wrong way, Harry, with respect to our economy, for them not to make a move. So don't be surprised if they go in June, and don't be surprised if they go once or twice as we get to the end of the year.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised, because I have chronicled this for my entire broadcasting career, 27 years. I'm guaranteeing it. But here's something I do know that's not political. A 25 basis point hike in June, that would actually mean that the spread between the 2-year and the 10-year yield, it would be at less than 25 basis points. So you're even getting closer.
Yeah, I mean,
they're inviting it, is what I'm saying.
It doesn't come as any surprise. I mean, if the curve does invert, I don't think, Harry, it's. Well, I don't think it's the end of the world.
I don't think it is either. But here's what we know: like, if you have the bases loaded in Major League Baseball, 83% with no outs, 83% of the time you will score at least one run. How much of the time when we have an inverted yield curve does that then we see a recession?
It's not.
Isn't it most of the time?
It's a lot of the time. It's not all of the time. But I I think, Harry, that things are a little bit different now. I mean, if you take a look just at general economic conditions, it doesn't. I think we're not set for a recession. But the one thing we didn't talk about, and we'll talk about next week because I know we're running out of time, is the fact that you have this increasing price of crude, increasing price at the pump, and the tax cuts that were put in the winter, are they being absorbed now by these higher fuel costs? So we can talk about that a little bit further as we get into next week.
Chuck, thank you for a spectacular visit. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut, the Malamut Group, 609-383-2010. Thanks for giving me the time with Governor Christie.
Absolutely, Harry. It was great. We'll see you again next week. Nice to have you back.
Thank you, sir. Good to be back. And when we come back, unless something changes, I'm texting him now, Dr. Newkirk will be next, then open forum in the second half.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ 97.3 HD3 Millville. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
More Israeli-Palestinian clashes. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's in the West Bank. As the protests continue the day after deadly demonstrations in Gaza where 60 Palestinians were killed, 2,700 injured when Israeli forces opened fire to stop border crossings. Fox's Connor Powell's on the Gaza side.
In Gaza, it's a significantly calmer and quieter day today than it was yesterday. Only a couple hundred or so people, Palestinians behind me today along the Israeli